1-week FTP on qualitative data analysis from 25th to 30th October and 30th September, and the session was divided into different modules and each session was taken by different resource persons. So some of the key takeaways from the FTP, I would say that we are able to distinguish between what is qualitative research and what is quantitative research. We all know that quantitative research basically deals with numbers. So it is used to find the statistical relationship between variables. But in case of qualitative research, it basically deals with analyzing the human behavior or what are the opinions of humans, and after analyzing how can we develop into a theory. So it basically deals with that, and it is about the in-depth study of some complex phenomena. And the data collection method, if we see that in qualitative research, we will be using different techniques like in-depth interview or observation method or then focus group discussions. So these are the different methods that are used in qualitative research. But in quantitative research, you have seen that basically we will be using a questionnaire which is having closed-ended questions so that we can use that data for analysis. But in case of qualitative research, we will be using interview technique or in-depth interview, and it will be basically text data, and we have to convert this text data into meaningful analysis. So, and also sampling method, if we see that in quantitative research we generally go for probability sampling methods, while in qualitative research we will be using sampling methods like judgment sampling, convenience sampling or quota sampling. So these are the different sampling methods that are used in qualitative research. And also there was a session based on in-depth interview. So in-depth interview, the resource person talked about the different types of in-depth interview and what are the strategies that we should adopt while conducting an in-depth interview. And also while selecting the participants, we should select the participants in such a way that they should have ample experience about a particular topic, and they should be willing, they should have the willingness to answer our questions. And there was a session related to data management also, in which the resource person described how can we convert the data into different codes. So we will be collecting data, we will be recording the data, or we will be collecting the data. So after collecting the text data, we have to convert into different codes. That is called transcription of data. So this code can be opinions, or it can be opinions or any statements. So this code will be converted into different categories. So this based on the code, it will be converted into different categories, and this category will be linked to a particular theory. So there was a session related to that also, and there was a session related to how to manage our data by using NVIDIA software and Atlas TI software. So that's it.
So I would also like to add here. Please, I think she must.
Yeah, yes,
the important thing or the important takeaway when we talk about the sampling in qualitative method is creating the relationship with the person you want to have the interview. Since it has to be in the scenario where the actual situation is there, it's important that the researcher connects with the respondents, and in the manner that they do not feel offended that certain questions are asked in such a manner that this is basically to investigate something. The purpose of the research is not to investigate something, but the purpose is to find out what is the actual situation, why this is happening. So that important takeaway is that you need to create such kind of relationship with the subject is a different word, but you can say the respondent. With the respondent, that the respondent is free to give his or her opinion in the scenario. Then another important thing is, as we talk about inequality, sample size. Here the sample size doesn't matter much, in the sense that if you find that repetitive answers are coming, even in the small sample size can be good enough to generalize or to analyze the kind of the things which a researcher wanted to investigate. For example, in one of this example, the resource person talk about what happened during a particular scenario. For example, there was a flood or there was something like that, and why a specific behavior is observed by them. So in order to understand that specific behavior, the kind of the questions you should keep in your mind should be the mild language selected, so that, and the respondent must be able to understand first. So another important takeaway is you must know the language of the respondent. For example, in quantitative text, we normally talk about different questions framed in an English language or maybe some other language. But here you have to even know the local dialects of that particular area to understand that phenomenon. That's another important takeaway we need to keep in mind. And also, qualitative technique cannot be used everywhere. That's another important point. So there are certain situations, there are certain areas where the qualitative techniques can be used. For example, if you want to understand what happened during the COVID in a specific area, why these particular things, then this can be one of the important topics which you can be investigate to the qualitative methods. And also, why, let's talk about a particular segment, why a specific segment behave in a particular manner. That can also be understood or can be researched through the qualitative method. And there was, as she said, the software. The software can only work if you know how you have collected the data. That's important takeaway. For example, when we learn SPSS, we know what are the type of data to be collected. Similarly, in case of this qualitative technique, also you need to understand as a researcher that what kind of the data is to be collected and how it has to be transformed so that it can be used in a particular software.
There is what I understood it from my journey of doing the qualitative research was that when we are, there was two options, like you can use a software and you cannot use a software. So I opted for a manual coding. The reason for opting for manual coding was that the software has certain limitations. It stops somewhere, and from there on, you as a researcher, you have to start coding and then making codes and categories which are there which software cannot do. So when you talk about using software in a qualitative research, it has initially, it can give you certain codes, it can generate codes, but how you are going to club it together, how you are making it categories into codes, leading to basically the idea of doing entire qualitative study is, if you typically understand, it's an iteration process. You have a funnel of data and then you start filtering it one by one, level by level, and then you arrive at a certain kind of which is called as a substantive theory. It is not a generalizable theory initially, and from there the empirical research begins. So qualitative research ideally gives a basis to carrying out the empirical research. So this is how basically it starts. So you have a broader structure. That's why the kind of issues that we pick up in qualitative research are more general in nature, and it's more, they have a social angle to it, and it's more generalized. It is not a cause and effect relationship that we study in qualitative research. So we try to study more of understanding the consumer mindset, or maybe getting deep into, so just with a small sample size of 19, 20, or ideally it is typically a good number would be 25, 22 to 25 is what is supposed to be a good number for a qualitative research, and from there you build on the empirical research. This is how the whole idea of qualitative research begins. So, yeah.
Absolutely. One more observation, information about the qualitative research, which was my takeaway from the FDP, was regarding the very crucial aspect of qualitative research, and that is emotional connect or the field surveyor to the respondents. One is the field surveyor has to have empathy while putting up questions and connecting with the respondents, and there is other perspective too to the same situation. how come we can actually eliminate our personal expression and emotions when we are asking questions from the respondents at the field survey? So that is one crucial aspect which is very difficult to manage. This question I asked in the session also, and it was never been like addressed in terms of giving a solution. It is something that we need to be very conscious about, and that is actually making this whole process of qualitative research a little crucial. And that's why perhaps doing qualitative research is a challenge, still a challenge in the area. Because everything depends upon how you are collecting the response. And if somewhere you are attached emotionally with the respondents, there is a chance that biasness is coming into the conclusion. So this is, like, for me it was a caution. It's a warning when we are conducting qualitative research.
Also is there, I mean, if you look at the entire frame of qualitative research, the biggest challenge for a qualitative research is in terms of validity and reliability of the data that you have. So every time you do a qualitative research, your validity of data, how did you arrive at this and what is the validity of that? It is easy to arrive at validity and reliability for an empirical data. But you can show software or hypothesis and things like that, yeah. But when it comes to this is one of the biggest challenges that is there. So there are, I mean, there are no tools basically available to address this. It is just that you can have expert opinions on that, and then you can do triangulation, and through that you can basically figure out that this is how it is.
So validity of your research, I think so 90% lies on your conscious and your justification. And that's why it is making it crucial.
Yeah, it's very subjective. The whole thing is very subjective. So that is the entire.
And indeed, it was a good FDP after a long time. Perhaps we have had some FDP. We have had the FDP on some other topic other than the quantitative research. So perhaps it's a personal validation to my knowledge database. I'm really happy to hear this.